Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to Countdown to the Championship. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs are on a collision course in the big game. And speaking of the big game, New Orleans, it's the host city. Some people say New Orleans is one of a kind. New Orleans is magical for many different reasons, from the food to the culture to the architecture. New Orleans is in a class by itself. Truly one of the most unique cities, not just in all of the world, but some people may say it's America's most unique city. New Orleans will host the 11th big game, tying the Miami metropolitan area. And certainly New Orleans has had its share of not only great big games, but hosting some major sporting events. And New Orleans will welcome another big event with the big game as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Philadelphia Eagles. On this edition of the program, we'll preview the big game, including look at the quarterbacks, also the coaches, and so much more, including interviews that represent both Kansas City and Philadelphia, and also someone from the host city. But let's start off with a recap of the NFC Championship game. We had the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders. Philadelphia would win 55-23. In this contest, Jalen Hurts completed 20 out of 28 passes for 246 yards, and he had a touchdown pass to go along with 3 rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley was simply sensational. He had 15 carries for 118 yards, and he had 3 touchdown passes. The leading receiver for the Eagles was A.J. Brown. He had 6 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. Once again, the final score in the NFC Championship game, Philadelphia 55, Washington 23. And in the AFC Championship game, the Buffalo Bills took on the Kansas City Chiefs. It was another thriller in the continued rivalry between not only the Bills and the Chiefs, but Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs would hold on to beat the Bills 32-29. Patrick Mahomes completed 18 out of 26 passes for 245 yards, and he also had a touchdown pass, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns. Kareem Hunt was the leading rusher with 17 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy was the leading receiver for the Chiefs, having 6 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. Again, the final score in the AFC Championship game, Kansas City 32, Buffalo 29. And that sets the stage for the big one in New Orleans between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. What an incredible season for the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. What an offseason it was. Not only working the draft and getting key players like Cooper DeJean, and also during the free agency period, getting Saquon Barkley. That turned out to be big dividends as Saquon became the X factor and the missing piece for the Philadelphia offense. In addition to Saquon, the Eagles, as I mentioned earlier, were very crafty in the draft, not only drafting Cooper DeJean, but also drafting Quinyon Mitchell, also Will Shipley, Anaya Smith, also Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and also, in addition, getting brand new offensive and defensive coordinators. Defensive coordinator in his first season with the team, Vic Fangio, did wonders with this defense, making them number 1 in the NFL. And the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, in his first year with the Eagles, making the team one of the best offenses in the league, particularly in the running department. So as I stated earlier, Saquon Barkley, the ultimate X factor for the Eagles. But it's not just Saquon that did his thing during the year, but quarterback Jalen Hurts, wide receivers A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. At the tight end position, you had Dallas Goedert. An offensive line that was just second to none, with the likes of Landon Dickerson, also Jordan Mailata, also Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton. And on the defensive side, Jalen Carter, also Zach Bond, a Pro Bowler, and with the likes of Cooper DeJean, one of the defensive backs that shined for the Eagles this year. Also, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, also the rookie Quinyon Mitchell, and Darius Big Play Slay. And hey, Eagles fans, they've had a love-hate relationship with Nick Sirianni throughout most of the year, but right now, everything seems to be on good terms. And the Eagles are looking to march on to victory. And what better city to hopefully march on to victory than in New Orleans and capturing the Lombardi Trophy in the big game? Jalen Hurts, he knows the Kansas City Chiefs. Those two teams played each other 2 years ago in the big one, and it was one for the ages. And it was a game that no one would ever forget. He's got another opportunity, and the Eagles have another opportunity, this time to not only beat a dynasty in the making, but also to put a cap on an amazing 2024-2025 season. History. Everybody wants to be a part of history, not just in sports, but in all areas and facets of life. Everybody wants to be a part of something that's groundbreaking and record-breaking. For the Kansas City Chiefs, they're the defending two-time NFL champions. And with another appearance in the big game, they have the opportunity to do what no other team in NFL history has ever done, and that's three-peat. That's right, win 3 Lombardi trophies in a row. What an interesting year it's been for the Kansas City Chiefs. They won a lot of games, but they won a lot of games in close fashion. They won a lot of games by the slimmest of margins, 3 points, 4 points, barely beating teams that were below 500 during the regular season. No matter how many points they won by, they're still the Kansas City Chiefs. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Travis Kelce. They have head coach Andy Reid. Also, they have a defensive coordinator named Steve Spagnuolo. And again, we've seen it time and time again, the magic of the Kansas City Chiefs. No matter how they've done it, they've always been able to get it done by any means necessary. And to add to that, you have a rookie, Xavier Worthy, out of the University of Texas. Also, Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, and the defense, of course, led by Chris Jones, also George Karlaftis, also Leo Chenal, Nick Bolton, also Shamari Connor, just to name a few. So the Kansas City Chiefs are back in the big game. And yeah, they do have a chance to do something monumental. They have a chance to do something that's going to be groundbreaking, something that's going to be legendary. But they're going to have a tall task going up against a team that had the number 1 defense in the NFL. But trust and believe, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to be ready. And one thing is for sure, they've got the personnel, they've got the usual suspects. And the first game between the Eagles and the Chiefs was outstanding. This second game is promises to be one for the ages, as the Kansas City Chiefs look to come into New Orleans for an opportunity to make history. The NFL is a quarterbacks league. Quarterbacks have molded and shaped the landscape of the NFL, not just in terms of offense, but just the league as a whole. And we've got 2 quarterbacks that are dynamic in their own special way. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. For Patrick Mahomes, this is about chasing history. This is about putting his name with some of the greats that have played in the sport of professional football. For Patrick Mahomes, this is a gentleman, to be quite honest with you, is just hitting his prime, is just hitting his peak as an athlete. And on the brink of chasing history and making history, Patrick is definitely setting himself to be a once in a lifetime, if not he's already a generational talent, but the opportunity to continue to put himself at the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks in the NFL. So while one quarterback is chasing history, we have another quarterback. He's looking for the opportunity to make history of his own. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has been one of the durable quarterbacks in the NFL, the embodiment of not just a city, but a franchise as well. The son of a coach, he knows about discipline, he knows about work ethic, he knows about consistency, and he knows about all around being a great leader. For Jalen Hurts, this is an opportunity to put 2 years ago behind him when the Eagles and the Chiefs played one another in the big game. For Jalen Hurts, this is an opportunity to start anew, not just in his career, but start anew with the Eagles in terms of winning Lombardi trophies. These two quarterbacks, as I stated earlier, are special and dynamic in their own way. For Jalen Hurts, it's all about being blue collar, being no nonsense, and doing what it takes to get the job done. For Patrick Mahomes, it's all about razzle dazzle, making that magic happen. In the big game, we'll see Patrick and Jalen do their thing, and one quarterback will stand on top as a winner, while another quarterback will have a long offseason to think about things. The head coaches in this game, Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni, are on a collision course. For Coach Reid, it's all about history. The opportunity for his team to become the first to three-peat, to win 3 Lombardi trophies in a row. For Nick Sirianni, it's the opportunity to start a brand new with the Eagles franchise and to begin a possible legacy with them. Coach Reid has been through the ranks for a long time, not just as an NFL head coach currently with the Kansas City Chiefs, but also having great seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, and before that being an assistant with the Green Bay Packers. For Nick Sirianni, before he became the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, he served as an assistant with the Indianapolis Colts, also the Chargers, and also served in offensive positions with the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time the Chiefs and the Eagles played in the big game, it was one for the ages. Both of these coaches, they know each other pretty well. Both have a history with the opposing teams, serving as an assistant and serving in a variety of assistant coaching positions. As I stated earlier, one is chasing history, another one is looking to make history. This should be an interesting one, and it should be an interesting in terms of the coaching philosophies and the strategies that are going to be brought to this one. You know, Coach Sirianni, all about having a run-first philosophy with Saquon Barkley while having your dual threat quarterback, having him to make plays when necessary, and also having the defense put emphasis on going after Mahomes. As for Kansas City, Coach Reid is going to have a philosophy where it's going to be razzle and dazzle with the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, but also making sure his defense stops the top running back in the league this year. This should be an interesting chess match with the two coaches involved in the big one, Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni. This year's host city is New Orleans. New Orleans is an eclectic city all on its own. It's a city known for its food, culture, and architecture. And it's also a sports city where the NFL has had the New Orleans Saints in the Crescent City since 1967. The name of the New Orleans Saints cheerleading squad are the Saintsations. I had the opportunity to interview one of the members of the Saintsations, Javon Davis. Let's welcome her to the program, Javon Davis. Hello, Javon. How's everything?
Hi, I'm good. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for the invite. You're welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program. So let's get right to it, Javon. Being an NFL cheerleader is a lot of hard work, and a lot of people don't understand the ins and outs of it. But before we talk more about that, how did you become a sensation?
That is an awesome question. I've been dancing since I was very little. So I've always wanted to become a professional dancer. But as you might know, I'm also a chemist and a business owner. So juggling everything was extremely difficult. But what's so awesome about being an NFL cheerleader is that all of us are professionals in our careers and professional dancers. So it was just a really good, perfect fit for the stage of my life and everything that I want to accomplish. I found out about it, and actually through a friend, and I was really nervous, and she said, no, go for it. I think you'd be awesome for it, and I went for it, and here I am now, and I'm loving it.
Rightfully so. I'm going through your bio. You have an extensive resume. You received professional training not only in ballet but also in modern dance at the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. Also, some very prestigious organizations with the New Orleans Ballet Association, the Debbie Allen Dance Company, the Boston Conservatory, and the Texas Ballet Theater, just to name a few. Do you think that training helped you to become an NFL cheerleader, or are they worlds apart?
That is a great question, and thank you for that. It definitely prepared me. We actually do a lot of technical skills, learning choreography extremely fast, becoming extremely flexible and fit. I mean, all of that goes into being a cheerleader, and I'm glad that you mentioned that a lot of people don't realize how hard it is, because I think, just with the sequins and makeup and hair, it kind of looks like it's easy, but we practice really, really hard. And even when we're not practicing, we're still practicing. So all of those dance styles definitely help. Ballet and modern are definitely the fundamentals of all dance styles. So it's important to have a good knowledge of that so you can just build on it and become a well-rounded dancer.
I want to ask you about the auditioning process to be a member of the Saints-Sations. I know being, in the world of cheerleading and dancing, it's very competitive, and it's so many ladies and some men that audition for these type of squads, but there's only a few spots. Do you remember what the auditioning process was like?
Oh, definitely. And I don't know if people know this, but we also have to audition every year. So even though you may have secured your spot the first year, you still have to audition every time after that. So it is extremely competitive. Typically, it'll last about a week or two, but we learned sideline routines. We learned 2 dance styles. We learned across the floor combinations. It was really intense. So the first chunk of routines we learned, we submitted via video. That was the first cut. Then we submitted more things. That was another cut. We submitted solos. That was another cut. We have to do interviews. We have to do an NFL test where we have to know about all of the players, all of the teams in the NFL, the different divisions, things in the organization, in the Saints organization, like different names with HR and whomever. So we really go through a lot and a lot of cuts before they make their final selection. So even beyond dance, we have to make it past the interview. We have to make it past, an NFL test, and it's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work and very competitive.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never heard that before. In order to you audition every year to be a part of a squad such as the Saints-Sations, and then they test you on NFL knowledge. I learned something new. I was not aware of that. But let's kind of get into the dancing process. We know that New Orleans is a city that's full of flavor, and it's very rich on arts and culture. And you talk, of course, dancing is a part of what you've done for so many years and what you continue to do as a member of the Saints-Sations. Are there any New Orleans element? Well, I know, of course, there's a lot of New Orleans elements, but does your coach or do you or any members of the squad take on any New Orleans style dances and incorporate it into routines for the home games?
Yeah, I love that question. And yes, so I'm a New Orleans native, so born and raised here. I went to college out of the state, but definitely love New Orleans so much. So we do incorporate a lot of that. We have different sideline routines to specific New Orleans songs. For example, every time we win, we go back on the field and we do a routine by a song called Casanova, which if you're from New Orleans, you already know what that song is. It's a really fun second line song. You might hear it at the end of weddings or, parties, and we have a whole routine based on that. So we have about 4 staples with the Sensations that we use every year, and they are specifically choreographed to New Orleans themed songs. Even more so than that, we have something called a pregame routine where before every game, the Sensations will come out on their own. They'll do like a 4 to 5 minute long routine, which is really tough because we utilize the entire field, so it's a lot of traveling and jumping. But we incorporate a bunch of New Orleans mixes of songs that reference New Orleans. So that's something really fun that we do at the very beginning to pump up the crowd. And then, like I said, we close out with Casanova. But every time we score a touchdown or a field goal or anything, we have a New Orleans song that we're dancing to. So it's very fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's stay with New Orleans dancing for a moment. There's a lot of artists that are very iconic with the city. Of course, there's Big Frida and there's DJ Jubilee that are part of the subgenre of rap music called bounce. Have you guys incorporated Frida or maybe Jubilee into any of the routines as far as with an MCing situation in a typical routine?
Yes, we did. So we did 2 dances, one called Ball, which was a mashup, and then another song called My Type. And we incorporated some bounce songs in there, too. And, of course, that was our favorite part in the mix. So our coach is extremely, extremely talented in mixing songs. Like, honestly, she can mix some of the best songs I've ever heard in my dance career. So she will mix in a lot of bounce songs, a lot of New Orleans songs to add some nice flavor, which is really cool. Even for our pregame, she'll ask us to submit New Orleans songs that we're familiar with to incorporate that in like a pregame song or things like that. So, she really does a good job making sure she incorporates some songs. And I think year by year, they're adding more and more to the library, which is really nice.
Awesome to hear. Now let's move along now to what's a typical week like in preparation leading up to game day?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. A lot of water. So water is extremely important because, you have to stay hydrated for the game. What people may not realize is that we get there really early. So if a game doesn't start until like 1:30, we will have to get there like around 7 practicing. So even leading up to that week, we know, that's going to be a really long and intense day. So we are hydrating a lot, stretching regularly. We have scheduled practices 2 days a week, but then we'll have an extra practice closer to the game called our field day practice, where we go into the inside stadium and we mark positions and go over everything full out again. A lot of making sure you're watching what you're eating because it all directly affects how you'll perform on game day. Even small things like just making sure your bag is packed. We pack all of our uniforms at one time, so we have a bunch of uniforms that we can change into, and we always make a wardrobe change towards the second half of the game, but we bring everything. So you have to make sure you have your palms, your practice palms. We have like maybe 3 or 4 different pairs of shoes. We have to make sure all of that is packed. But it's a lot. I mean, and like I said, even practicing outside of practice just to make sure you feel comfortable. One thing about performing is the better you prepare, the best it'll look. So as long as you're preparing and you feel, you feel ready on game day, then by the time you're performing on game day, it'll look amazing. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I can imagine that. How often do you and the members of the squad devote time to strength and conditioning? Because I know on some NFL cheerleading squads, there's a certain amount of time that they devote to strength and conditioning and cardio and the whole 9 yards. And you mentioned about practices take place 2 days a week. So how much time is devoted to the strength and conditioning aspect of it?
I love these questions. So when we first joined the team in the summer, we have an intense boot camp. So we are doing a lot of running, a lot of conditioning. We have fitness workshops. We have a nutritionist that we meet with to give us some realistic goals, making sure, we're eating right, and just at our best, really. And even throughout the season, we're practicing, and practices last like 4 to 5 hours per practice, where before we even start, there's a long stretch process. We work out, and then we, go over routines or our learning routines. I remember I was interested in first I didn't find a purpose for an Apple Watch before I joined the team, and a lot of my friends on the team said, no, it's a good idea. And I got it, and, we would measure over 1,000 calories per practice. So, we are really getting it in for that time. And that doesn't even include, like I said, field practice. And God only knows how many calories we burn come game day. Like I said, we'll get there like 6:37 in the morning. The game is at 1 something, and we may not leave until like 5, right? And we're like dancing the whole time. So we definitely have to make sure we're conditioned, and even outside of practice, just exercising on our own. I know some girls have a personal trainer. Some girls and guys, too, they work out on their own, or they follow routines on YouTube or things like that just to keep up with everything. We are definitely being creative and making sure we stay in shape.
Rightfully so, and again, you guys have been one of the premier cheerleading squads in the league for a long time now. I want to let's talk game day. We know the players and the coaches, they are tense, and look, they're ready to storm the field on game day. What's a game day like for you and the rest of the Saints-Sations?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this may sound cliche, but it is so true. The Saints have the best fans in the NFL. You can feel everyone's excitement on game day before you even enter the dome. We just have greeters who are excited about the game. So that's first of all. What's awesome is because we get to rotate different end zones throughout the field, we have like 4 or 5 lines, and we always rotate. We familiarize ourselves with the fans in the audience. So we're able to make friends with the fans in the audience. They are familiar with our face, scream our names, we're smiling and performing for them. It's so much fun. And you described something that's one of my favorite parts on game day when we call it player intro. And that's a whole routine in itself when the players run out. It's so much fun. So after we do our pregame show, we run off the field to the other side where the Saints come in, and we kind of wait under this overhang. And then the Saints players come in behind us, and of course they're riled up and excited, and you can feel their excitement. You can hear the fans, and then all of a sudden the lights go out, and then we run out with I can't think of the name, but there are these machines that blow smoke, so we run through that and get in our positions, and then every time a Saints player comes out, we have a certain routine that we do for them to present them, and you can feel the excitement. It's just indescribable. It's amazing, but that's one of my favorite parts, the thing that you talked about. We call it player intro.
Awesome to hear. Now, we know that the NFL is built upon tradition and owners and families having a unique connection to the organization. You didn't have the opportunity to meet Tom Benson, but have you had an opportunity to meet Gayle Benson and the rest of the Benson family? Have some type of interaction with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we do things outside of game days called appearances. And appearances are when the Saints organization will book us for an event throughout the city, which I love to do also. So I got to meet Gayle Benson. It was at one event, a Hall of Fame event, and then another event was actually a community service event. She was just so classy and nice and sweet. Even Drew Brees, I remember it's a funny story. His kids will come a lot of times and like eat. So there's a cafeteria in front of the indoor facility. And a lot of times his kids and his wife will be there, probably coming from school and just, stopping by to say hey or things like that. And I remember Drew Brees was practicing, of course, because we were about to take the field practicing and being an amazing leader. And I remember one of his kids lost a shoe, and he was coming to us asking if we could help him find the shoe or, if we see a shoe, let him know. He introduced himself to all of us. His wife did as well. I mean, you can tell that the Saints organization is a family, and everyone is really, really nice. So, yeah, definitely Gail Benson is a sweetheart. And the interactions that we've always had with Drew Brees is always super professional, super nice, very, very caring.
You mentioned about the New Orleans Saints fans being some of the best in the National Football League. You've got diehard fan bases in Philadelphia, Chicago, New York City, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, and Dallas, just to name a few. But what makes New Orleans fans so unique from any other fans in the league?
You know what I think? I think it's from a cultural standpoint. So we're in the South, and I think from a hospitality standpoint, we just love on each other a lot. And definitely after Katrina happened, I think New Orleans just wanted something to unite us and feel as one, and that definitely took our fan base to an entirely different level. But it's just so enveloped in the culture. Like, we'll even wear Saints jerseys to Mardi Gras parades or even to Pelicans games. We just really love the team. We love the coach. And we even see that the teammates adopt our culture. It's just a family, and I think it just speaks to how amazing New Orleans is, and that's why I love this city so much.
When I think about NFL cheerleaders, I think about the Raiderettes. I also think about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. There's the flight crew with the New York Jets, and there's a ton of other cheerleading crews. But what sets the Saints apart from those other cheerleading squads?
What I would say is that we are, and not taking away from any of the other teams, but what I can speak for our organization is that we are super intelligent and professional. All of us have amazing careers and really just feed off of each other, and we're really and truly a family. And that's something that attracted me to specifically the Saints Stations. I know that our fan base is awesome. I know that the organization is a family, and it definitely feels like a family, and it feels like, they care about us and have our backs, and they want to hear what we have to say about all sorts of things and want to incorporate us into things all the time. But I also love that everyone on the team is a professional in their own right and very intelligent and passionate about other things. And I think sometimes there's a bad misconception about NFL cheerleaders, but I think we do an exceptional job at dispelling that because we are all heavily involved in the community or at our jobs or exceeding in careers. We have someone in medical school on our team. We have someone who just retired who is finishing up law school. So we have some really amazing men and women on this team who care about New Orleans and care about, their professional lives and are holistically just overall good people who are also amazingly talented dancers. And I think that's what I find so different about the Sensation.
That's wonderful to hear. I want to ask you about, we hear a lot of, at times, horror stories about former NFL cheerleaders, and that the pay was not the best and the treatment was horrible. And I know you don't have to dispel this information if you want to, but if you're contractually obligated, you don't have to do so. But I want to ask you just, what's the pay like as being a member of the Saints Stations, not just in terms of you and the rest of your squad cheering on game day, but more importantly with personal appearances and endorsements and things of that nature?
Yeah, man. So what I will say, another thing that really separates us from other teams is that we get paid for everything. Now, we aren't getting paid like the NFL players, I wish we were, because we do so much, and I think there's always room, to get paid more. But what I will say is every time we put on that uniform, we get paid. Every time we have a group practice, we get paid. Every time we have to go to the dome super early to prepare for the games, we get paid for that entire day. And that is a huge blessing because I know a lot of teams don't have that. And, yeah, that's another reason why I chose to be on Saint Stations. I definitely did extensive research, and I found that the Saints organization really has our backs and are open to things all the time and really want to make sure we're treated fairly. And I really do appreciate that. And it's unfortunate that some other teams have different experiences, but thank God, this particular team cares and wants to fairly pay us every time we put on the uniform because we do a lot of work. So whether it be appearances or just at our group practices, we get paid for all of that, which is really nice.
Good to hear. Good to hear that the organization is taking really good care of you guys. Now, speaking of, you're currently doing your thing in the athletic world, but even more importantly, you are highly educated. You earned your master's degree in business administration and MBA from Tulane University's Freeman School of Business, and you're in a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Southern Methodist University. And after graduation, it says you worked as a cosmetic chemist for a top chemical manufacturing company, so you definitely have your credentials. And also, you're an entrepreneur. You have a company. Tell the listeners out there a little bit about your business.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I've always wanted to be a cosmetic chemist. And what's funny is I started off only dancing, and then I found out about cosmetic chemistry, and then I tried to merge the two worlds together, which thank God it all worked out. But, yes, I have a company called Vine Cosmetics. We do hair care, skin care, male grooming products, and then I also do custom formulas. So I work with companies around the country. I work with small businesses, even a lot of stay-at-home mom and dads who have a passion for starting some type of cosmetic line, whether it be hair care or skin care, and then I help them with their formula, help their business, and get them in contact with a manufacturer so they can create it in bulk. And I love it. It allows me to be very creative and, use my other side of my brain and just help other people start businesses. I think it's really important, which is why I'm also passionate about teaching business classes as well. So I try to encourage as many people as possible to go into business for themselves or at least find, what they're passionate about so they can have another stream of income, which is very important.
How does your college education fit into what you do with your own company, just in terms of what is it like with testing formulas or coming up with concepts to develop your products?
Yeah, so my chemistry degree is definitely the foundation of what I do now. So when I was in college, cosmetic science wasn't really a clear path as much as it is now. It's kind of a new path that people have created. So I had to be very creative and figure out even how to get to, this point now. But, it's all chemistry. So a lot of people had never even heard of that side of the industry. So the people who make, your hair care products, your toothpaste, your deodorants, whatever you shampoo your body with or body wash, all of those people are scientists who work in a lab and create these products for you. They have to go through testing and regulation, making sure preservatives are right, your formula stabilized. So definitely chemistry just gave me the confidence and knowledge to go into that path. And then, luckily I was already in Dallas because of SMU, so I was able to work with some really heavy hitters in the cosmetic industry and learned a lot about formulas. And then I got promoted to sales and moved to California. And then I was over like 300 accounts. And a lot of people were encouraging me to make formulas for them anyway, because it allowed me to sell them more ingredients from my company. And then, not my personal company. If these people are trusting me to create these formulas, then maybe I should look into that. And then I said, you know what, let me get my MBA, got my MBA, started my own company simultaneously. And then I said, okay, all of that is set. So now I have time to really pursue dance and add that on too. And that's how Saint Stations came about.
Awesome. I'm looking at the products here, and this is really, as you put on your website and what you discussed. It's all natural with hair care, skin care, and apparel. Who decides? Do you decide what ingredients go into some of the products? I'm looking here. You have such as a calming aftershave lotion. There's a cooling mint beard wash. There's also hydrating rich hair cream, and there's also a coconut curl defining cream and other types of products. Who decides which product? Do you decide which products goes into? I mean, what ingredients goes into these products?
Yeah, I do. So what I found was that because it's a term called going natural, and it's something that African American women say when they decide to grow out a relaxer and just want to wear their hair naturally curly. And it really was a decision rooted in dance. When I started studying, Elvin Ailey and the Debbie Allen Dance Company, I was just so enamored with the Black dancers wearing their natural curls, and I said, I want to go after that. So, figuring out who makes these products, I found that a lot of people who make these products, for my hair type and texture didn't look like me. So then I thought, well, how do they know what I need and what I don't need? Who's testing these products? Who's signing this off? And that's how the company came about. And yeah, I did a lot of research on figuring out what, would be a better ingredient to choose from versus, a cheaper route. I just had a conversation with a potential account the other day, and I told her, the idea of all natural or something causing cancer, sometimes those could be buzzwords, but what I love to say is that maybe you can decide a better ingredient than something else. So instead of mineral oil, that's kind of like a cheaper ingredient, you can say, instead of that, I might use coconut oil or extra virgin olive oil or even glycerin. That's really good. That'll be a little more nourishing for my curls versus, a cheaper oil, but nothing necessarily causing, cancer or anything like that. So that kind of was my approach when formulating these products. But yeah, everything that's on that website came from my brain, and I did extensive research on what I wanted in it, what I didn't want in it, and, that was the final result.
Awesome. And again, your products are great. Now you have products available not just for women, but also men as well, and that's wonderful. Again, you have hair care, skin care, and also you have apparel as well, so that's wonderful what you're doing. And again, Javon, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program. You're welcome anytime. So before we let you go, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, whether it be your handlings and any websites. Let them know that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And before I go, I just want to say thank you so much for the invite. I'm definitely honored and appreciative. You did extensive research, and all of your questions were amazing, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. My name is Javon Davis, so it's spelled G-A-V as in Victor, A-N-N-E, last name Davis, and that is the Instagram handle, Twitter handle, Facebook handle. My company is Vann Cosmetics, V-A-N-N, just like my name, but V-A-N-N Cosmetics, and all of that is the same for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. The website is www.vanncosmetics.com, V-A-N-N cosmetics.com.
The Kansas City Chiefs have made their mark, not just in the NFL, but even before then, being a dominant presence in the AFL, the American Football League. Whether it be Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas, both states, they love their Kansas City Chiefs. Here's DJ Doob to not only talk about her beloved Chiefs, but most importantly, to talk about the culture of Kansas City, and then some.
Let's welcome to the program DJ Doob. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much once again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program. So, Kansas City, I want to start off with you being involved in the world of hip-hop and you being a DJ. When I think of Kansas City hip-hop, the first thing that comes to my mind is Tech N9ne and what he's done for such a long time, just being on the independent circuit. Can you tell the listeners out there just a little bit about the Kansas City hip-hop scene with Tech N9ne and other rappers that have been around in the city and those that are coming up?
I would definitely love to touch on that. The Kansas City music scene has definitely taken a great step in the right direction. A lot more people are taking their music seriously. A lot more people are getting their music on bigger platforms. Just to name a few that I think a lot of people should really check out: Kai Colors, Southside Dave, Juby Truth. Like, the culture altogether, as far as with the music, is getting so much better, and I'm super proud to say I'm from Kansas City.
All right, sweet. And let's stay with the music of Kansas City. Of course, Kansas City has known to be and still is known to be a city that's rooted in jazz. It's one of the premier cities known for jazz. You have New Orleans, there's Chicago, there's St. Louis, there's Pittsburgh, there's Philadelphia, New York City, and then you put Kansas City in the midst of those cities with a huge jazz history. Just kind of tell me what's the Kansas City jazz scene like in terms of clubs and what they're doing to preserve jazz in Kansas City.
Well, first and foremost, we have our own jazz museum here, so we're always keeping the jazz culture alive here. Not only that, with the jazz culture, it's also located in the 18th and Vine district. So there's a lot of Black-owned businesses that are down there. A lot of those businesses actually put on a lot of showcases for people here to perform. So that could be, spoken word, that could be jazz, that could be, R&B, a little bit of hip-hop, or, spoken word of that such. So, we're definitely deeply rooted in jazz, but we're definitely keeping the culture alive and being able to touch on different genres and aspects of music and that sort.
Okay, awesome. So again, as you let me know and let the listeners know as well, Kansas City really rich in the jazz culture as well as with the emerging hip-hop scene that continues. I want to stay let's get now to the performing arts. So Kansas City, we know, is a city that's really rich on the arts. And, they really love the theater and things of that nature. What are some of the spots you can tell our listeners just about the performing arts in Kansas City?
Okay, so I'd like to also touch base, keep in mind, to tie it back to the last question we were just answering. We have the Gym Theater, which is also located on 18th and Vine. Great area to perform in, great area. As far as, other arts, we have, I like to touch on the murals that a lot of people have been doing. There are a lot of murals all over the city that kind of touch bases on, race and, different ethnicities and, just embracing different cultures in the world pretty much. Also, we have, I would say, we take pride in our sports here. So, I would say if you look at if you're in downtown at night, you're definitely going to see the Chiefs red and gold all over the city. We have a Marriott downtown. Excuse me. We have a Marriott downtown that actually lights up and is like a big LED screen. So you'll see the different logos and of whatever sports team or whatever particular thing is going on in that particular time. So yeah.
Awesome. I mean, Kansas City, it definitely is a city that lights up, as you said, the downtown really lights up at night. And speaking of something that's lighting up, we're going to talk sports in just a little bit, but something that has really lit up Kansas City for a long time is the food, the cuisine of the city. And just we know, I want to start off with barbecue for a moment because Kansas City and barbecue are synonymous with one another. What makes Kansas City barbecue, in your opinion, so good?
I knew you were going to ask this. I would say it's hard to explain. I would say it's the uniqueness in our sauce. So, in Kansas City, there's, I would say at least 15 different barbecue places that you can eat at. And in every spot, there's, a different kick or a different vibe of sauce that you can eat. So, a lot of people know about Gates. A lot of people know about Arthur Bryant's, but I can really say you can get a different taste of the culture at every barbecue place you eat at.
Let's stay with Kansas City barbecue for a moment. Can you explain to the listeners what burnt ends are?
Burnt ends? Burnt ends, at least from what I was told, burnt ends are the tips of the ribs where it's just all meat. So it's like big chunks of, you could do pork or you could do beef. I'm not the biggest pork fan, but I normally get the beef burnt ends, and then you can normally drench it in sauce, or you can just eat it straight.
Okay, and we know, again, as you stated, and I've stated, that Kansas City is known to be one of those premier cities that's known for the barbecue. But when people come to Kansas City, what are other cuisines do you recommend? Like, what other type of restaurants, or just any type of foods that you recommend when people come to Kansas City if they want to expand outside of barbecue?
Oh, that's a good question. I would definitely, I'm kind of a picky eater, but I'm very particular about places that I eat it, so I'm probably not the greatest to recommend. But if you like Jamaican food, I would definitely, want somebody to try jerk chicken for the first time at least. It's the greatest thing on earth.
Okay.
I would also say there's a lot of different chicken spots here. I think a lot of the places here are kind of in bigger cities, so it's kind of hard to recommend a spot that's not in a bigger city already. I gotta say, try Wings and Things. Sit in that line for a little bit.
Okay, Wings and Things, sweet. Now you mentioned about another thing that's a part of the culture of Kansas City is sports. While we're with the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the team in 2017. What were your thoughts when you found out Patrick was drafted by the Chiefs?
I was actually excited, especially, with him, taking the spot of Alex Smith after he, left. So I feel like after Patrick Mahomes, set his foot and got position, I feel like the whole culture of the fandom of the Kansas City Chiefs went to a whole other level that we have not been able to come off of yet.
Yeah, indeed. He's really, as you mentioned, and we got to give much respect to Alex Smith as well, man, because he did have some great seasons with the Chiefs. But, man, when Patrick came in, he set it off and put it onto a whole nother level. I want to stay with Patrick for a moment. So let's stay with Patrick for a moment. So, Travis Kelce, I want to know, what did you see the potential being there? Of course, with Patrick being drafted and him becoming the starter, and Travis and being there, did you see the potential that this was going to be like championships in the works?
Definitely. But I would say when Patrick came in, it was just like a whole nother attitude, a whole nother more connected vibe between him and the players that he played with. And that's, let's not forget that, it's not very many players that can throw a ball without looking in the direction that they're throwing it in. So once you know the chemistry of the players that you're playing with, it's kind of easier for you to, pick up the game and make the changes that you need to in order to win.
In sports, not just in the NFL, but in sports, dude, there's always once-in-a-lifetime talent. We've seen it with Michael Jordan. We've seen it with Tiger Woods. We've seen it with Tom Brady. What is it of Patrick Mahomes that makes him different from not just any other athlete you've seen in Kansas City, but just any other athlete that you've seen in the NFL?
One thing that really sticks out is however much you be losing, you never know. And I say this all the time: the game ain't over until it's over. And I feel like that particular line says a lot, especially with how the Super Bowl was last year. The fact that we won, that alone says a lot about Patrick Mahomes. The game wasn't over, but like I said, the game's not over till it's over. So we gonna keep pushing, we gonna keep fighting. We not gonna lose hope, not gonna give up.
When you're DJing, whether it be in the nightclubs in Kansas City or anywhere, any parties in the area, what are the artists that Kansas City people in Kansas City are gravitating to?
Of course, we have a lot of Tech-9 in the spins. We have D-Walk, and then as far as any of the other artists, I would say, like I said, Kai Colors before, Southside Dame, Tiggs Music, Casey Young Boss, Rich the Factor. We got to put a little bit of Mac Dre in there. There's the Bay Area culture here also when it comes to music. So but Tech Nine is definitely in everybody's lineup. You can't pass up a Kansas City party without playing a little bit of Tech Nine.
I want to stay with influences for a moment. You mentioned that the Bay Area has a huge influence in Kansas City, but what are some of the music influences that are present in Kansas City? Is it besides the Bay Area? Is it the South? Is it a little bit of the East Coast? Is it other influences from the Midwest? What are some of the influences in Kansas City?
I would also say Detroit. Detroit and Chicago with the drill music has been a lot more influential as far as with the music here. And then, of course, I feel like the South has always had an influence here as of the early 2000s with the snap era. Like, you can't pass that era up as far as having the influence, because I felt like after the snap era, everybody was kind of trying to make music like that. So, yeah, I would say the Bay Area, Detroit, Chicago, and the South are primarily or in a little bit of New York. We can add New York in there since, drill music kind of came from there. So I would say, yeah, those are the 5 places I would definitely say has an influence on, Kansas City culture as far as music.
Oh, wow. Great to hear on that. So, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program. So, again, DJ Dupe, tell everybody where they can find you on social media. And if you have a website, any other websites that you would like to promote, let them know that as well.
Perfect. Okay. So if you guys want to follow me on Facebook, you can look me up as DJ Dupe. That's DJ space DOOP. I believe my Twitter and Instagram is I am the Doopster. That is IAMTHADOOPSTER. And as far as my website, you can click the link in my bio on both Twitter and Instagram, and I have like a link tree. So yeah.
You heard it from her. She's Kansas City's own DJ Dupe, giving us the word about culture, the Kansas City culture, barbecue. Also, we talked a little sports as well, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and she's giving us the insights on what's going on in the KC. DJ Dupe, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you.
There are some great treasures to Kansas City. One of them is the iconic barbecue. I had the opportunity to interview barbecue expert, promoter, and instructor Chris Marks about the art of Kansas City barbecue, what makes Kansas City barbecue different from other regions, and so much more. Here's Chris.
When I think of Kansas City, that's one of the things that is synonymous with the city, such as jazz music, and of course it's sports, and of course it's barbecue. And to talk more about one of the unique qualities of Kansas City, we want to welcome to the program barbecue expert, promoter, and instructor on barbecue smoking and pit grilling, and he's the owner of Three Little Pig Sauces and Seasonings. Let's welcome him to the program, Chris Marks. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Ed. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. So, one of the many things that you do best, sir, is that you are a pit master and also a griller and a smoker and an expert in barbecuing. And you hail from Kansas City, so we know one of the many things that make Kansas City great is its barbecue. In your opinion, what makes Kansas City barbecue so unique from other cities?
Well, the great thing about it is I've got to travel the world teaching barbecue. I see all kinds of barbecue. So the first thing is all barbecue is great, but what really differentiates Kansas City versus a Texas versus a Carolina is that, man, we cook everything. We don't care. I mean, we cook pork, we cook brisket, we cook ribs, we cook chicken, we cook lamb, we cook mutton. We don't care. We don't specialize in anything. We specialize in everything.
Wow, that's interesting, right? I want to stay with, you said that Kansas City barbecue, the difference is that you guys basically will cook anything and everything. I know that there are various variations of a barbecue, but I want to ask about the sauce. What makes Kansas City's barbecue unique? Is there something, and is the sauce different from other regions?
Well, that's a great question, Ed, but absolutely. Sauce is really unique to the region. So Kansas City, we're sweet, we're sugary. We like that molasses taste. You know, that's what we're all about. You look at Texas, they're more of the tart, the vinegar, and not even, a lot of times they don't even use a sauce. You look out in Carolina, you've got two different styles. You've got your basically Carolina style, which is a vinegar pop, and then you got your South Carolina style, which is a mustard sauce. So again, the sauce is really what makes the region more than the actual protein that you're cooking.
I want to stay with the regions for a moment. Missouri has two major cities, Kansas City and then there's St. Louis. Are there differences between Kansas City style and St. Louis style barbecue?
Oh, I didn't know there was another big city in Missouri. Oh, there is?
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Actually, between St. Louis and Kansas City, it's really, the sauces are pretty much the same. They do cook a little bit different. When we'll cook a pork butt, they'll cook a pork steak. So that's what St. Louis is really known for. It's really known for that great pork steak. But when it comes to everything else, they're really more on the pork side, whereas Kansas City, being that we are really, truthfully, a beef town, we have a really more specialized in that beef side of everything.
Well, speaking of beef, let's transition back to KC Moa and Kansas City barbecue. I want to bring up something that's very unique to the region, and that's burnt ends. Can you explain to me and as well as the listeners what burnt ends consist of?
Well, basically, it's what we call barbecue gold. Okay, burnt ends is effectively the point of the brisket. So when you get a Packer brisket, you have two pieces of muscle on a Packer brisket. You have your flat. That's the piece that most of the people slice. Then you have that luxurious, just that unbelievable big fatty piece, the knot on the brisket, or what we call the point, or we call those the burnt ends. So the burnt end is a little bit different. We treat it a little bit different because it's a very dense muscle. So to get that great burnt end, we usually smoke it to about 210 degrees, or what we call the marshmallow. We want them to feel like marshmallows.
Wow, that's interesting right there. I want to stay with burnt ends for a moment. What are the differences between burnt ends and rib tips?
Oh, great question. Well, first of all, rib tip's going to come off a spare rib. That's what we're going to call the chine bone. So when we talk about the rib, a spare rib is really comprised of two separate muscles. You've got your chine bone, and you're going to have your rib muscle. So when you hear about St. Louis cuts ribs, that's with that chine bone removed. And I love rib tips. So rib tips, when I trim up my ribs, I usually cut them out. They're a big piece of cartilage, and I treat them just like a rib. They're not going to have the flavor and the zest of a burnt end because they just lack the fats and the connective tissues that burnt end has. But again, they're fantastic. And we sell a lot of what we call them the tips. We sell a ton of tips out here.
Okay, now I want to bring up, you mentioned that in Kansas City barbecue, it's basically cooking just about anything and everything as far as protein sources are concerned. You mentioned with pork and beef, chicken, also turkey, and there's lamb and sausage, and even fish and some seafood as well. What about the side dishes that are served with Kansas City barbecue?
Well, some of the best side dishes are, of course, going to be the pit beans. So what we'll do with a pit bean is pretty much throw everything in there. So anything that's left over from a brisket or a pork butt, we'll chop it up, and we toss that into the beans. But what we'll do with the beans is, again, we're going to throw a little bit of brown sugar in there. You know, again, Kansas City, here we go. We always mix a little bit of sauce in there. We'll throw a little bit of rub. But more importantly, what I do, and this is always taking it to the next level, is I'll actually smoke those beans. But when I do it is I'll actually put the beans under my brisket as it smokes. So what's going to happen is that brisket renders those juices, drops down into those beans, and just takes it to a whole nother level.
Oh, man, that sounds so good. That's those beans really pop. As you said, you smoke it under the brisket. Man, that's awesome. What about other sides that are served? I noticed that there's also French fries and coleslaw, but what are other sides that are served in addition to the baked beans?
in addition is I do a lot of mac and cheese, a lot of smoked mac and cheese. And it, again, smoking it, slowing it down, putting a little bit of rub on top of it. I'll use my Three Little Pigs Touch of Cherry on top of that mac and cheese. Just takes it, again, to another level. So, you talk about your coleslaws, too. So we'll do a vinegar-based coleslaw out here in Kansas City, but I also have a mustard coleslaw that's fantastic that goes with barbecue. Of course, the fries, you've always got to have a good set of fries to go. In Kansas City, there's nothing better than Gates barbecue steak fries. I tell you what, I've been born and bred on those things for the last 50 years, and I love them. But again, the sides are just so unique.
Wow, I want to stay with coleslaw for a moment. You mentioned normally in Kansas City, people like either the vinegar or the mustard coleslaw. Now it's interesting because most people like a mayonnaise-based coleslaw. What do you think is it about people in Kansas City that is this a Kansas City only thing where people love the mustard coleslaw and the vinegar variation of this dish?
No, I think when it comes to the coleslaws, the mustard, the mayonnaise base, the vinegar base is really going to be more of a southern type flavor, as I want to call it. But what I've seen across the country is really nobody's really specific on those different kinds of tasting coleslaws. I see every one of them everywhere, and it's really positioned to that restaurant and what they want to serve. So some of these restaurants, of course, they want to be different from everybody else, so they'll serve the mustard, and the next one will serve the mayonnaise base, but majority will serve the vinegar based.
Okay, and you mentioned about fries. You mentioned that you grew up on having Gates Barbecue, which is one of the many institutions in Kansas City, and they serve steak fries, the steak fries that they serve. But I wanted to know, are there any other types of fries that you could get with a Kansas City barbecue? Does it have to be steak fries, or do other people like other types of fries?
No. When it comes to the great thing about fries is it's about the originality. But when it comes to the fries, you can also look at another staple of Kansas City is Bryant's. So they've got a totally different. They've got a thin fry, but that thin fry, unlike the crispy fry that you'll get at Gates, they're going to have a tendency to be a little softer and a little more greasier. But again, it's about that flavor. That's what they've known for. I mean, Arthur Bryant is the dude when it comes to true Kansas City barbecue, and he's had those kinds of fries probably for 80 or 90 years. They serve them on some paper, and you can just see the grease in them. But it's about the flavor, and they've got an unbelievable flavor. But what we'll do to the fries up here in Kansas City, what we're going to do to really take them to another level, we'll use some salt, but we're going to use a barbecue rub, some kind of rub, and we'll use like this all-purpose rub or something like that to really give them a little bit more zest.
Okay, then something new right there. And I want to stay now with what you do at barbecue. You mentioned about spices, and of course you are the owner of, you have a company called Three Little Pigs, which specializes in sauces and seasonings. Just tell the listeners out there what type of sauces and seasonings, and what other products does your company provide?
Well, first of all, Three Little Pigs rubs and sauces were developed from competition barbecue, over 35 years of competition barbecue. So, as we sort of migrated away from the competition barbecue scene, we had great product line. So we developed the sauces and the rubs, and unfortunately my parents had passed away, and they were sort of developed in their honor. That's where these come from. The sauce, we started with a competition sauce, and it's Three Little Pigs Comp Sauce is very, very well known on the competition circuit. That's what a lot of the guys use to win with. And it's a Kansas City-based sauce with a little vinegar hit to it, but it's also got a little sweetness to it. But again, it's not that overly sweet. It's a true Kansas City barbecue sauce. I have a Carolina sauce, I have a mustard sauce, and I have, of course, a spicy chipotle sauce. And all of those are derivatives of the original competition sauce. But what really takes it to the next level are the rubs and the seasonings. So how am I going to be unique from everybody? I have what they call the championship rub. Championship rub just speaks for its name. It's what we won the most with. But again, these rubs, they're not something that you can make at home. These have been developed for 15 to 20 years. I use actual food scientists to help develop these because of the complexity of them. So the championship rub, I have an all-purpose rub. I have a Memphis rub, which is really unique, and that was developed by my dad that has a powdered Worcestershire into it. He saw it one day when he was shopping for spices, and I got to make a rub out of it. And the first time he used that rub, he took third out of 200 contestants at a barbecue contest. So again, it's a unique rub. I have another unique rub, which is called the Three Little Pig Touch of Cherry. And the Touch of Cherry was developed for our pork butts. Gives us that sweetness, gives us that thick crust that we're looking for. And then, of course, we have the Kansas City Sweet, and we always got to have a sweet rub to match with the sauces. So again, there's a real art to doing rubs and sauces.
All of them sound very delicious right there. I mean, you could take your pick, any one you want. It all seems to be a winner for your barbecue. Before we continue, transition into the Kansas City Chiefs, I want to ask you, there were regions that we talked about in terms of the variations of the barbecue. We mentioned Texas. We mentioned the Carolinas. We mentioned the Texas, Carolina. We also mentioned St. Louis. What's the differences in the Memphis style barbecue?
Great question. Memphis barbecue is a dry barbecue. So what do I mean by dry? Is they don't use sauces. So what they'll do is you'll go to, say, Rendezvous down in Memphis, and what they'll do is you'll get ribs that don't have a sauce. They put a rub on it, then they actually take that rub and they'll grill it. So all you taste is the rub. They don't have sauce at all. The other thing about Memphis is they're whole hog. They're more into cooking the whole hog pieces like we do. We'll do shoulders, we'll do straps, we'll do all kinds of things on the hog. But they'll do that whole hog. They'll cook that whole hog to about 160, 70 degrees. Then they chop every piece of it up, and they'll serve it on buns. So that's the difference between Memphis. They're really that true pit barbecue. That's where you'll get it at Memphis.
Okay, learned something new. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to ask you, as far as cooking is concerned, how long do you smoke your briskets?
I usually smoke my briskets 8 to 10 hours.
Okay. I always thought, so normally I see a lot of barbecue masters or just people that barbecue in general. Normally they smoke their briskets normally longer for like maybe 14, 16, sometimes 18 hours. Does it really make a difference in terms of the longer cooking time, or does it make much of a difference?
Again, that's another great question. After 35 years of being in the business and watching everybody cook, the guys who usually take the extravagant long time, the 18 to 25 hours to cook a brisket, usually means they're cooking on something that's really inefficient. So they aren't able to apply the heat like they really need to when they're doing long-term smokes. Most restaurants cook their briskets between 8 to 10 hours. And with that, we're watching a temperature. We don't watch time. We watch that temperature. Once that brisket pops about 195 in that flat, those points are hitting about 210, that's when they come off. Now, I am a true barbecue purist. I foil, I don't use paper. I like the way the smoke works with it, and again, I don't want to really influence it with paper or foil.
Okay, I want to stay. Man, I had a question you would say so much, man. Thank you for the information on that. I want to ask you now. You mentioned about being a barbecue purist. What type of wood do you use? I know some people have their preferences, either cherry or apple, but what type of wood do you like to use when you're you're doing your barbecuing?
Well, again, I'm a Midwest-driven guy, so we've got a lot of wild cherry around here. Grew up and smoked a lot of wild cherry, but I also enhance with pecan. That pecan is part of the hickory family. It's going to give it a little bit more tartness than the cherry does. So I'm going to get a little more smoke flavor with not overwhelming. I don't want to overwhelm with the smoke. I want the taste of the smoke, not the smoke tasting everything.
that is used in barbecue? And you mentioned that you being from the Midwest, it's cherry and it's pecan. Does it vary in the different regions? Like I know, does it in the South? Do they use a certain type of wood, or on the East Coast or on the West Coast? What are the difference in the variations?
Well, you'll head down into Texas. You still see a lot of mesquite and you see a lot of oak. And they will mix also with pecan, but you'll never see a fruit wood like an apple, a cherry, or a peach or anything like that. Into the Carolinas, you're going to see more of a hickory influence with peach, because they've got a lot of peach orchards out there. So you see more hickory. You'll see more of a hickory down south into Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky. They all use more of a hickory influence, whereas a Midwest, we're still that cherry and that pecan influence, which, again, hickory is a lot more tartar, and you have a lot heavier smoke flavor with hickory than you do with cherry and pecan.
Okay, thank you for the explanation right there. Now, another part of Kansas City culture is not just barbecue, but also it's sports. There's the NFL's Kansas City Chiefs. When Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the team in 2017, what were your thoughts when he was drafted by the Chiefs?
Well, I knew he was a gunslinger, and we knew of his dad, and his dad was a great athlete too. Of course, he played against us a lot for Milwaukee. He was down in Kansas City quite a bit when they were over in the AL. And, I knew he was something special, but I didn't know he was that special. How's that? And I just want to say thank you, Chicago, for stepping over him. So, I mean, he's and here's sort of our preference in Kansas City. He's a good guy. You know what? He's just a good guy, and his parents have done a wonderful job bringing him up.
Yeah, Patrick seems one of a kind, and everything that he's done, not just for the area of Kansas City, but just in the NFL in general. I want to bring up another quarterback for a moment, Alex Smith. A lot of people speak very highly of Alex Smith during his time in Kansas City. What were some of the things that you took from Alex's time as a quarterback of the Chiefs?
Well, first of all, Alex wasn't that gunslinger like Mahomes. Mahomes, you don't know what he's going to do and when he's going to do it, and that's what makes him so dangerous. I mean, he may sling it between his legs. You don't know. Alex Smith is more that born-bred, pure quarterback to where, he's going to play safe. Mahomes, sometimes I'm like, what the hell are you doing? It worked. Alex Smith is going to be, that 5 to 10 yard dink, whereas you didn't see him go down the field long. But the thing about Alex Smith was people in Kansas City loved him because he helped a lot of the groups around here. He was just, again, a nice guy, and he gracefully bowed out with Pat Mahomes. He helped Pat get started, really gave him a great, this is what Kansas City's about. And I think that was a really important part of it, Alex Smith, on how he introduced Patrick Mahomes to Kansas City. But, Alex probably set him down and say, listen, here's what we're about.
Let's stay with the Chiefs for a moment. I know Arrowhead Stadium they say it's the loudest stadium, one of the loudest stadiums in the National Football League. I just want to know, Chris, can you tell our listeners just what the atmosphere is like when you're getting ready for a tailgate at Arrowhead, and just with the fans and the excitement and just that electricity? Just what's it like at Arrowhead?
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you, people come from all over the Midwest. I go to quite a few games. People come in from Iowa, Minnesota, a lot of people from Nebraska, a lot of people from Colorado, Oklahoma, all the way up from Arkansas. So say we have a 12 o'clock game. They're lining up at the gates at 3 in the morning, popping their tents out, starting to tailgate. They don't care if it's 5 below. They don't care if it's 200 degrees. They don't care if it's raining or snowing. They're out there with their tents getting ready for the game. The buzz is phenomenal in the parking lot. That parking lot will smell like a big barbecue. And everybody helps everybody. We don't care where you're from. A lot of the opposing teams, people will show up, come on into our parties. We serve people from all over the country from the other teams. When you get into that stadium of 80,000 people, first of all, it's a big stadium. The other thing is it is so loud because people do not sit down. That game, they will stand for the whole game. They will rout. They will pound their feet. It is phenomenal. John Elway hated Kansas City. He could never hear down in the end zone. And we did that on purpose.
So, indeed, you guys. As far as I want to stay with the fans of Kansas City for a moment, I would say that how would you say you guys rival with, let's say, the Seattle's 12th man in terms of volume and then just being loud at the stadium?
Well, as you know, we are the loudest. They tried, but we won.
Okay.
We won that battle. And it really comes down to the passion of Kansas City, and what it really comes down to is what Hunt has done with the team to really revive it. I used to go back to the football games back into the 70s, and I tell you what, when I was in high school in the 70s, they would give us free tickets, and there would maybe be 18,000 people there. Now, you can't get in unless you know somebody. But that's really, Andy Reid has done that. Andy Reid has brought that winning complexity back to Kansas City. And it's just, you just have to be here to fill the buzz. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, I've been here 60 years. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And you know, the amazing thing about it, Ed, I was in Australia teaching barbecue classes. People were wanting to know about the Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
You know, like, tell me about the Chiefs, you know, and that's in Australia. And so it's worldwide. And, you know, a lot of it's being driven, again, by the excitement. And I think just how the players interact with the public.
It seems like the Chiefs are really engaged in the community, and like you said, when you were in Australia handling some business and stuff, the NFL's got a huge global reach, and it goes to show you the power of just how sports can transform a lot of different things. But Chris, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. So tell everybody real quickly, where can they find you on social media as well as Three Little Pigs, and on social media, any websites that you have, you can promote that as well.
First of all, I'm on social media. I do a little YouTube channel where I teach people how to barbecue, and that's under Chris Marks. Just Google Chris Marks Barbecue YouTube. Again, a lot of simple stuff. My rubs and sauces, there are lots of stores. So again, Ed, thank you so much.
Oh, solid. Thank you so much once again, Chris. And you heard it from him. He is Chris Marks, barbecue expert, promoter, and instructor on barbecue smoking and pit grilling. And he's the owner of Three Little Pigs Sauces and Seasonings. Chris, thank you so much. One last question before I let you go. What are some of your favorite barbecue dishes that you enjoy eating?
Truthfully, I love beef ribs, and we call it brisket on a stick. I love beef. I mean, you can cook beef ribs. They're phenomenal. They're like a brisket. Probably my other is going to be a smoked beef tenderloin. So the whole beef tenderloin, I'll smoke it, and it's just a totally different taste. It will literally melt in your mouth when you smoke a beef tenderloin.
Oh, wow. I love beef ribs, and the beef tenderloin sounds great as well. What side dishes would you have with them?
It'd probably go back to the mac and cheese, and I'd probably half a pan for me and then half a pan for the rest.
Okay, great. So you heard it from him. He's Chris Marks, and again, barbecue expert. Check him out on the internet. Check him out on YouTube and the website as well at Three Little Pigs, three-little-pigs-barbecue.com. Check it out. Check him out and his great products. Chris, thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Ed.
The city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, has left an indelible mark on the culture of America, not just in terms of food, but also architecture and culture. One of the iconic staples of Philadelphia cuisine is the water ice. I had the chance to interview Dre Andrews, owner of Dre's Homemade Water Ice and Ice Cream. I asked him about what makes the Philadelphia treat so unique. And also I asked him about some Eagles players.
The city of Philadelphia is one of those great, not just American cities, world-class cities where it's known for its culture, its architecture, and of course, the food. When you think of the food and the cuisine of the city of Philadelphia, cheesesteaks, hoagies, soft pretzels, just to name a few. But there's also something that makes Philadelphia unique in its food scene, and it's been around for a long time. It's water ice. Yeah, that frozen treat that people in Philadelphia and all over the Delaware Valley happen to love. We have a gentleman on the program that not only specializes in water ice, but also in Southern treats as well. Let's welcome him to the program. He is the owner of an amazing business that specializes in water ice and Southern-style treats as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him to the program, Dre Andrews. Hey, Dre, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. Before we get into detail on what you provide for your business, Philadelphia, as I mentioned earlier, it's a city known for many great things, and it's always been an active food scene and so many different cultures, especially in terms of the food. Philadelphia water ice. You know, to those that may not know what Philadelphia water ice is, you know, New Orleans has the snowball. In Hawaii, they have the shaved ice. And there's a lot of other cities that have their take on frozen treats. But two-part question, what makes a Philadelphia water ice so unique, and how is it prepared?
Yes. Yeah, so the first thing, so like you mentioned, other cities, like southern cities and states, they might have the shaved ice or snow combs. Ours is made in the bash machine. So Philadelphia water ice, when you hear the word water ice, you know that person's from Philadelphia, or they taking something from Philadelphia, taking it to their city. So when you hear water ice, you know it's that person is from Philadelphia and is unique to Philadelphia. No other city or state called this frozen dessert water ice. So it's made in the bash machine. So what's separated from, say, shaved ice or snow combs is whatever ingredients that you're using, or fruit or syrups or base or whatever it may call it, is blended in the bash machine and is frozen as the machine is mixing the product. So what makes my product different than other water ice companies or manufacturers here in the city is my process. So I'm not going to go through my process, but other cities in the tri-state area, say New Jersey or New York or other places, they may call it ices or Italian ice. Philadelphia, what separates us from those individual or those cities is that ours is smoother, it's sweeter, it's sweeter, but it's also smooth like ice cream. But it doesn't have dairy in it. It's cholesterol free and so forth like that. And then, you know, different places, some places like mine, they can also be vegan friendly. So again, Philadelphia is similar to what ices or Italian ice, but ours is creamier and sweeter than other cities throughout the tri-state area.
Solid. I want to stay just with your business. You know, when, again, water ice is like a combat sport in Philadelphia. There's so many different stands, as you mentioned earlier, and they have their take and their recipes on how they do things. You mentioned about the ice and things of that nature. What makes your water ices different from others in Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things is the process plus the ingredients that I use. So I have several flavors. I have flavors. We specialize in fruit flavors. So I have the fruit flavors, and then I have the traditional flavors that adults and kids are familiar with here generationally here in the city. So when I make mine with fruit, so, you know, some people may make theirs, say they make it with fruit, or make it with fruit and just throw the pieces of fruit in there. I use the actual fruit. I let it age a certain time. I do certain things to it. I add other ingredients to it. So my process and the fruits that I use and so forth like that would separate me from my competitors. I don't use artificial flavors. I don't use that red dye this, blue dye that. So when I come up with different flavors monthly or for the year, when you come to my shop and then go to another shop, you can tell it's two different products. You know, who's better, that's up to you. That's relative. If you know, if you go to my stand, if you go to my shop, or you buy something from me wholesale, and you go to another person and say they got Dre's water ice, or they go to, say, a bodega or somebody else's shop, you can tell the difference in quality. You can tell the difference in taste, in as well as other things as well. So nothing that we do is similar to other shops. When it comes to that, we try to make things that's nostalgic and is rememberable and non-traditional. So when you come to our shop, you know you've been in Dre's compared to somebody else's.
That's amazing. That information that you dropped on us is nothing like organic and natural ingredients, and you really taste the difference between natural and organic, as opposed to, like you mentioned, artificial flavors and dyes and things of that nature. And I want to say just what you said, that you pride yourself on using fresh fruit. When you're making your product, I know you said you won't go into detail about the process because we don't want to we don't want to let people know how the sausage is made. But in terms of quality produce and using fresh fruit to make the water ices, do you use produce from Philadelphia alone? Do you go over to the neighboring states like maybe New Jersey, Delaware, or do you go get your produce from other countries? How does it work in terms of getting your food and selecting your produce to make these water ices?
So I do get my product locally, as well as from neighboring states, as well as other countries. So it depends on what season. So, I get some mangoes from Mexico. Sometimes I use the mangoes from Haiti, Peru. So it depends on the different seasons when I'm making it. So something like I said, is more of a season. We open seasonally, but we're also sometimes we go down all the way to December. So it depends on what, like I said, we specialize in the fruit flavor. So if I'm coming out with a fruit flavor water ice, it's in season. So if it's in season somewhere overseas and it's shipped here to the States, I would get it during that time. So sometimes we get stuff from Jersey. We get stuff locally, and sometimes we get stuff. Some of our suppliers get stuff shipped in for us. We're probably going to be getting a lot of stuff shipped directly to us from overseas, depending on the time of the season. So if our suppliers don't have what we need at the peak time, we probably go get some stuff from overseas.
Awesome. And let's go into the next topic, just about the flavors we were talking about. Again, you mentioned about priding yourself on using the freshest ingredients, fresh fruit and things of that nature. What flavors are available at Dre's?
So we do water ice as well as ice cream. So for our water ice, we have mango, rainbow, passion fruit, strawberry lemonade, and peach. And sometimes, we switch it up. Depends what part of the country, because we do a lot of festivals. We do festivals up and down the East Coast. We're going to, be doing festivals over there. So we may switch it up here and there, depend on what supplies we can get. So sometimes we have problems getting supplies for a certain flavor. So I might, whatever fruit I can get that I can, whip up and master within a couple weeks, we will transition into that. Keeping it simple, trying to keep the headaches down and so forth, doing with the issues of staffing. When it comes to our ice cream flavors, we have a Southern division. We have sweet potato pie, banana pudding, strawberry shortcake, chocolate chip brownie, peach cobbler, apple crumble pie, peanut butter and jelly. We just come up with crazy non-traditional flavors, as well as things that that's nostalgic. Peanut butter and jelly, something you may remember coming home after school and grandma or mommy giving you a snack before you start your homework. So we'd take that and turn that into a ice cream. And we just do things non-traditional. So, for example, our cookie and cream is jet black. We blend all our ingredients into the ice cream. So every spoonful is going to taste like a sweet potato pie. You're not going to get some vanilla ice cream on one spoon, and the next one you got a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of sweet potato pie, and a little bit of crust. No, every spoonful is going to taste like the actual name of the product that you have in your ice cream. So again, we throw all the cookies, the brand cookies that we use or we bake, we put that in there, and it's come out jet black. It's going to taste like ice cream, the traditional style creamy ice cream, but it's also going to taste like that cookie. You're going to get that on every spoonful. So when you go to the bottom of your pint of ice cream, you're going to be like, darn, you're not going to be like, darn, there's no more cookies. I'm eating vanilla ice cream or whatever the case may be. That last spoonful is going to taste like the first spoonful, and that's how we, that's our competitive advantage and what separates us from our competitors.
Awesome, man. I love how you said that, man. When you take this spoonful of that sweet potato pie, you're actually eating that. Or like you said, with the cookies and cream, you're getting those cookie bits. You're not just getting a little ice cream. That's what people, yearn for and what people crave. And craving, are there any flavors that people have requested and you just like, man, it's just not in season, or we can't do that right now, or it's not going to be popular?
Yes. Be honest with you, we have a cult following. So sometimes, and it's like that with majority of all our flavors. Like I said, we for our water ice, we somebody like, darn, I missed that peanut butter and jelly. I'm like, give us another month and a half. That's going to come back out around September when kids going back to school and so forth like that. And we may come out with something during the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, because it's holiday season. And, grandma always makes sweet potato pie or some type of apple pie during the holidays. So we definitely make sure we got it around the fourth quarter as well as the second quarter when you come around to Easter. One of the flavors I'm going to try to bring back, my banana water ice. That's something that people is still crying for me to make again. And like I said, I use real bananas. It's not no artificial flavor 12 with this, like this, them frozen pops you get from the corner store, bananas nobody ever buys.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is real banana. You see the seeds that's in the center of a banana. You can tell it's real banana coming to my shop than anybody else, and most shops don't even make banana. You know what I'm saying? But we do, and that's definitely one of our top fruit flavors that people continue to ask me for.
Awesome. And as far as Philadelphia is concerned, people pride themselves on tradition in terms of where they like to eat, where they like to shop, and things of that nature. How is your business becoming a part of Philadelphia culture, just in terms of people not only wanting to get water ice, but also getting the ice cream as well?
Yeah, that's definitely a great question. It's definitely tough. Here in Philadelphia, when it comes to it's a big food town. So outside of say, Italian or Mexican food or Latin food, whatever the case may be, like you mentioned, the cheesesteak, the pretzel, the hoagies. When it comes to that, those staple foods that we're known for, is very territorial. So if you go to North Philly or the North Side, everybody's going to pick their favorite 9 out of 10, their favorite cheesesteak or hoagie spot is going to be from that side of town. You come over to the West Side, West Philly, where I'm from, my favorite is going to be, even though I might like the cheesesteak or hoagie shop or pretzel shop on the other side of town, my first store that I'm going to name is 9 out of 10 is going to be a steak shop that's in West Philly. So everybody always big ups the neighborhood or the community that they from. So it's very, very territorial. And we're making our name for ourselves over here in West Philly. When it comes to newspapers or magazines or news or the local news, when they name the top 10 water ice or steak shops here in the city, we always mention within the top 3, top 5 every year. So everybody is starting to, we're starting to be a household name, and we're going to be a household name for many generations to come.
Congratulations to you. And, you know, the city of Philadelphia, just as a whole, very cultural. And we talked about the food and, of course, the architecture and the neighborhoods. And so, I mean, a lot of great music comes out of Philadelphia. You know, you've got Patti LaBelle, Gamble and Huff, Jasmine Sullivan, Meek Mill, of course, Will Smith, DJ Jazzy Jeff, The Roots. Have there been any celebrities or any dignitaries that have come and patronized your business?
Yes. So when I started doing festivals, like I said, I started with a push cart in my neighborhood. When I was unable to get a bank loan, I had to, put my own money up. And then from there, I went to the Browns Family ShopRite, a local supermarket throughout the city. And I've been getting a lot of support from local artists like Jazzy Jeff. Who else? Mad Skills from Virginia. Black Thought. What's the guy from? I think he's Jamaican from New York. Curly hair. Special Ed. He shows me love in different cities. DMX. Nori. So all the celebrities that usually at these festivals or in the city, they always come and support. Like I said, I've made a big name for myself in the music festival circuit. So I'm always doing VIP. I'm always getting a call to do VIP. So people always showing me love due to the just having. Rakim. He showed a lot of love to my son. So he took a few pictures with my son. So I'm always getting celebrities show me love for just being from the tri-state area. They know what ices is or water ice is, and they just, wow, this really tastes like mango. To give you a crazy story, I did a festival, and the girl, she brought a mango water ice, and she wanted her money back. She's like, this tastes like real mangoes. I don't like real mango. I like the artificial. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't give her money back,
Yeah.
But that's what customers always come back. Celebrities like, oh my gosh, this is really good. This is fresh, and that's what we pride ourselves on. So sometimes they come just for their word of mouth, and some come from they remember their child, their daughter or son may come to our stand and take it back to the dressing room, and they like it, and they come get one. So they show me a lot of love over the years.
Awesome, man. Sounds like you've definitely have had your work cut out for you, meeting those celebrities and stuff, and of course introducing your product to the masses. And when we talk about Philadelphia, we mentioned all of the things with the food and the architecture and the music and sports. Like, Philadelphia is a sports rabid town. It's a city where people ride and die for their sports teams. And there's a quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles named Jalen Hurts. With Jalen coming to the city and being a part of the Eagles, did you notice anything different with him in terms of his playing style and what he brought to the Eagles?
One of the things that I noticed is his story. Just being as an athletic, being Black, African American, we're very athletic individuals. So I know we what we were getting on the athletic side. The experience side, he has a great story, going from Alabama, the championship game, getting benched or whatever the case may be, and then going over to another university and doing very well there. So I know he can triumph over adversity. So I know he had that part. So I know he was able to bounce back from that. His father is a coach, I believe in Texas somewhere. So I know he had what it takes to handle adversity and overcome some of the situations that he was dealing with. And you need that here in the city of Philadelphia. We have fans that will build you up today. By the end of today, they will be screaming at your front door. They love you one minute, hate you the next. But we have one of the best fans in the NFL. Jalen Hurts said, I'm walking to Dallas. The whole city going to walk to Dallas with him. They're going to take care of any issues that he had on the streets from walking from here to Dallas. You know what I'm saying? So we have not just the best fans, we have some very, very crazy fans. So when you come to that stadium to support your team, it can be a scary situation for visitors when it comes to coming here to support your local team, for sure.
Wow, that Philadelphia fan base, no matter the sport, is extremely loyal and diehard.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to stay just once again with Jalen for a moment. The Eagles have had their share of black quarterbacks throughout that organization. Randall Cunningham,
mm-hmm.
Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, and now Jalen Hurts. In your opinion, Dre, what makes Jalen different from those other gentlemen that have put on that Eagle uniform?
Wow, that's an awesome question. His heart in leadership. I think he's very vocal, and I think that's what would separate himself from others. I think he's a natural leader. He's a born leader. The other quarterbacks, it seemed like they had to do it because they quarterback. You know, it's usually the captain of the team is usually the quarterback, and maybe the center, and whoever the star is on defense, the safety or whatever the case, the linebacker, whoever it may is. He would be the captain regardless if he was the quarterback or one of the main stars. He's very in the community, and he's very vocal when it comes to huddles and getting the team ready for the following week. And I think that comes natural to him. It's not like, the media wants him to be a leader. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you're automatically a leader because you're the star quarterback. You understand? It could be that person that's on the D-line, the offensive line, whatever the case may be. But I think he's a natural cuter. He's local. He's taking it with stride and poise.
Awesome. Yeah, and definitely Jalen is destined to have a long career in the NFL, particularly with the Philadelphia Eagles. And you heard it from him. He's Dre Andrews. He is the founder, and he's the owner of Dre's Homemade Water Ice and Ice Cream. Dre, again, thank you so much, my man, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. Tell everybody where they could find you on social media, any websites. Let the listeners know that as well.
Yes. So again, thanks for having me. I truly appreciate it. You can find us on Instagram at Dre's. That's Dre's Water Ice. That's DRES as in Sam, Water Ice on Instagram. For Facebook is Dre's Water Ice and Ice Cream. My website www.dresicecream.com.
Awesome. Before I let you go, I know this is a silly question right here, but I know every city has their vernacular or has their slang, so to speak, or how they address someone, whether it be a compadre, a close buddy, or whatever. John, J-A-W-N. That is quintessential Philadelphia. Can you explain to the listeners what John is and just where did it originate from?
Yeah. Where it originated from, I do not know. But it's definitely what you call it now. And John could be anything. It could be anything. That John was good. Some people everybody's using the word now. It's very popular. They drawing it out a little bit, overusing the word. But yeah, if you hear the word John, you definitely know that person is native to Philadelphia. Joint could be anything. That joint was good. So whatever that person had in their hand, is what it is. That joint was good. I'm going over, you can use it however. You can use it however you want. But when you hear that word, you definitely know that's a Philly word. It's a Philly term for sure. Joint is definitely a Philly word.
Awesome. And one more time, Dre, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, and again, let them know the website.
Yes, Dre's Water Ice. That's DRES Water Ice. On Instagram, website is dresicecream.com. And just follow us on Instagram. You may be at a festival or a city near you.
Awesome. And you heard it from him. He is Dre Andrews. He's the owner and founder of Dre's Water Ice and Ice Cream. Definitely a brother doing big things and continue to expand his business out of the city of brotherly love. Dre, thank you so much, my man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
The legacies of both franchises will be decided in the big game. Not just with the head coaches Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni, but also with the quarterbacks Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, also Saquon Barkley, who had a monster of a regular season. And not just with those gentlemen and their legacies, but also the defenses in this game, particularly the Eagles defense that came in with the number one defense during the regular season. Kansas City, their legacy is going to be one for full display. Will they have the opportunity to pull off the three-peat? Or will Philadelphia begin a legacy of their own and with an opportunity to win a Lombardi with the current roster that they have? There's going to be a lot of pressure in this game. It's going to be intense, and it should be one for the record books. 2 years ago, we were treated to a classic game with the Chiefs winning by 3 points, 38-35. I think in New Orleans, we're going to be in for an encore, and it should be a fun one. So, my prediction for the big game, I think it's going to be a great one. I like the Philadelphia Eagles to win by 3 points. I like the score to be 29-26, Philadelphia. And that's going to do it for this edition of the program. Be safe and enjoy the game. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.